Good afternoon, everybody, on a Friday here in going into the fall. Football started back up, and we got some good content here that we're going to get started with in just a few minutes while everybody joins in. And we will just kind of hang loose for a second and get started. Okay, and for those of you who have other folks on your team that may be interested in this webinar, we actually have it recorded. It will be posted, and you'll see that. So that's always a common question we get. All of these are posted and recorded on our website. We'll kind of show you how that works in just a minute. So on that note, I think we've got just about everybody, and we can get started. So today's webinar is all about using data visualization to track things not only with what you might have in Fabric systems and kind of your, let's say, vista of the world for your business, but also kind of expanding that into much more market-based intelligence as well. And so with us today, we've got BBB Techs, and we are going to talk about tariffs, trends, and smarter decisions and how you go about driving that. So as we get started, we'll kind of go through an agenda here, just getting everything rolling. We'll do some introductions. We'll talk a little bit about why data visualization matters and how some of the solutions that BBB Tech brings to bear that augments what we do natively in Rep Fabric are really impressive. We'll go through different data types. We'll talk about kind of some of the differentiation that makes it very specific to the rep market and the manufacturer market and industrial B2B sales, which we all are. We'll go through some live demos and talk about some of the automation and some of the testimonials along the way. So as we get started, go ahead, Tim. These webinars are posted, as are all of our future webinars, right on the repfabric.com website. So if you go there or Disty Fabric, Manu-Fabric, you can see the future events coming and register for them there. And if you go into the examples here, we've got some upcoming webinars related to Dynamax. We've got some upcoming webinars about user adoption and how those things work. And we are also going to be on location at AMAR coming up in October. If you're in the plumbing and HVAC market, we'll see you guys there, as well as the ECIA Executive Conference for the Electrical, or Electronic, I should say, Association. So we will be there as well. Some of the past webinars are available in the Rep Fabric Learning Management System. So if you go into your help screen and say learning and then type webinar, you'll see the big list of webinars. That's one place that you can find this webinar. But if you have any problems and you want to review the recording, just send a note into support. We'll make sure that you get linked up with it. So, so with that, we'll continue. As you guys know, Rep Fabric, we basically are a manufacturer's rep system that sort of spans the idea of goals to the commissions that you earn as a company. And it's kind of both CRM functionality as well as all the sales and commission backend tracking. Got a lot of new features that are coming out right now, as a matter of fact, in the AI world, to do things like AI-based activity journals, some of the AI-based order and data input that we have now coming through emails and so on and so forth, AI quoting and things like that. So if you haven't seen our very latest and greatest on some of the AI features coming out, you definitely should. AI commission imports and sales imports as well. Definitely check out some of those new features, and we're going to have some additional augmented AI analytics coming in the not too distant future here in the kind of November timeframe. So a lot going on within the company, and we were honored to have a user conference back in 2022. We're looking at how we do that again here soon as we've grown quite a bit. And one of the big keys to how we're all successful in today's day and age is especially having that human connection, right? And that's what I think we all need, certainly our country needs right now. And and so we look forward to doing a future conference here to help establish that human connection. Plus, it's a lot of fun. Whole bunch of reps having a great time for 2 or 3 days, getting their hands dirty in some technology, and then having a good time at night. So we hope that you guys will join us as that comes out. So as we continue, I think most of you know me. I'm the founder of Rep Fabric. I was basically, the easy way to think of it is ex-tech guy. In the first decade of my career, bought into a rep agency and ran that for a while. Kind of lived all the pain of not making not feeling comfortable that I knew how my business was doing, right? Not always comfortable that I was keeping my manufacturers happy. Lots of, lots and lots of work where I was in this never ending treadmill of trying to stay on top of follow-ups for opportunities, jobs, quotes, etc. And, and furthermore, every manufacturer that I had different reports that they wanted and so on and so forth. And that's really what spawned Rep Fabric to be born. Just by way of background, also in addition to that, I had worked in a rep agency, worked as an Accenture consultant, and founded Rep Fabric, where I kind of combined both of those careers together. I'm also on the board of CPMR, which if you've not participated in, it's a great way, or certainly send your key folks who may enable succession plan. It's all about the CPMR certifications that are, or I should say I'm a board member of MERP, but the CPMR certification as a certified professional manufacturer's rep, which is basically how do you run a rep agency and all the things that you do in order to be successful at doing that. So I know a lot of folks on the line are CPMRs already, but if you're not, it's something to certainly look into. All right, yeah, I'm gonna keep going. So I'm going to introduce Tim Blake, one of our great partners at BBB Techs. Tim, tell us a little bit about your background and your company.
Yeah, thank you, John. And I noticed your fun fact on the last slide about almost qualifying for the Olympics. I think that's a lot cooler than my fun fact before I dive in. I actually didn't know that about you, so pretty interesting. I'd love to ask you about that later. But I think you did a great job kind of giving an overview of what Rep Fabric does, and I'm excited to be here today to talk a little bit more about how we help enhance your solution, understand more about the impact of data. But before we dive into that, I'm the founder of BBB Techs. My background is primarily around helping organizations, particularly in the rep and manufacturing space, get the most out of Microsoft technologies. We work in everything from Microsoft Teams, SharePoint, OneDrive, Office, and Power BI, which we'll actually talk more about and focus on today. Over the past couple of years, I have worked with many companies and helped them establish better practices on collaborating, managing information and data, and most importantly, how they use data to make smarter business driven decisions. I'm very passionate about technology. It's something that drives me. I love to take solutions that are difficult in real life scenarios and create curated solutions around them using tools that you probably already have within your workforce to help you unlock insights, create long term and sustainable success. And that's exactly what today's call is about today. We're going to take a look at how agencies and manufacturers can use tools that they've already had and combine them with visualizations and automation. Like I've said, I've worked with a gamut across the Microsoft universe, even through ERP solutions, as well as automation. And for my fun fact, I actually started my tech career working in a student help desk. It was a really cool program that our high school offered, focused around letting students immerse themselves in technology. So at the time, I got to go to teachers' classrooms, help them set up printers, computers, and that really kind of facilitated my passion for helping people with technology. And now I've ended up in a completely different realm where we're leveraging data, analytics, information to really help business leaders get more out of the tools that they already have. So, with that being said, a little bit more background about BBB Techs. We nearly have a dozen shared customers between Rep Fabric and ourselves. And with our shared customers, this overlaps with our solutions from the CRM side to our data and reporting, which you'll see live and in real time. We were founded back in 2019 with a very simple mission, and that was to help businesses get more value out of technology and data that they already have. We focus heavily on data automation. What we do and what we're really good at is taking repetitive reporting tasks and manual number crunching that both reps and manufacturers deal with every day and turning them into streamlined automated processes. So instead of burning time on spreadsheets, you can now focus on selling and growing your territory. We also specialize in Microsoft 365 solutions, like I mentioned, Teams, SharePoint, OneDrive, Office, and especially Power BI, which is actually known as Microsoft Fabric now. So a little pro tip there. And these tools are already in most of your organizations, but they are often underused. And allowing us to help jump in and connect and unlock the potential will again help you collaborate better with your principals or help manufacturers track performance better. If you are a Google Suite or you are using other tools, we can still help you out in terms of data and reporting. But again, a lot of companies we've noticed nowadays are leveraging Microsoft in some capacity. So you maybe already have some of the tools that we're going to show. We also have delivered proven results. We've helped deliver over 100 successful projects, helping agencies turn their scattered information into clear dashboards. And finally, just a little extra thing about us. We are a Microsoft and a Lenovo partner with proven track records showcasing our strength and boasting our relationships with some of the giants. So with that being said, I'm going to throw it back to Scott. I want him to, or excuse me, back to John. I want him to talk a little bit more about our relationship, how we came to be, and what's some overlaps that we have and what makes us unique.
Absolutely. Yeah. So as everyone knows on the call, most of your RevFabric customers, we build kind of a focus to help you sell, right? We call that like the CRM front end, identifying your company Rolodex, making sure that everybody shares it in common, creating connections into your Outlooks and Gmail systems and so on and so forth to build that company Rolodex. And then we hang kind of the things we do every day as salespeople and as agents in general, including things from your goals to your activity journals to opportunities and projects that you're tracking, ultimately to quotes, quote follow-up, sample follow-up, lend item follow-up, even into orders and order tracking for those of you who get to see orders or get order acknowledgments from your customers or your manufacturers. Finally, into the invoices and the commissions and even our expenses module. So we're really focused on a lot of the data capture side of it. And as you know from there, we generate lots and lots of different types of reports for what you need. But when you want to augment those reports beyond what we have as standard reports and in our analytics package that we have now within the tool, by blending in external information, that's where I think, really the power gets unlocked, because you're not just focused within your own world, but there's also the influences of the bigger picture of what's happening in the world that BBB Tech can bring to bear. And so we've had folks who are common customers, as Tim mentioned, do things where they've taken RepFabric data and really bolstered it with a lot of public information to give them that complete market visibility, that complete market data. And so Tim, if maybe you want to kind of continue along those lines and define that a little bit better, go for it.
Yeah, no, I don't think you could have said it better. RepFabric does an amazing job at capturing the information and providing standard reports about the information that they have already. But where we do take it to that next level is by integrating third-party data like quoting information, potentially market data from the US Census, tariff data that might be published, which you're going to see these live examples in real time as we move throughout our demo. But we've noticed that by taking the data that you have already and CRM being one component, maybe your accounting tools being another, or inventory, and bringing them into one central location can help you act on it better and make better decisions and even look at forecasting for your business. And I think one of the biggest challenges that we saw in our early stages or infancy, starting with rep agencies, is that information is just scattered, right? Data is all over the place. Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, actually said during a conference that data is the core currency of any business, and customers that aren't taking advantage of it are falling behind. So, by taking opportunities, commissions, sales reports from manufacturers and bringing them into one place and being able to visualize that will truly help you take your data to the next level. And I think that's why our partnership with RepFabric makes so much sense. RepFabric is already giving you the best possible solution in the marketplace as the backbone to track your opportunities, activities, and streamline your communication and report potentially back to the manufacturer for whatever you want to share with them. So let's go ahead and dive a little bit deeper. I think before I showcase to you some of the beautiful solutions that we've created in conjunction with RepFabric, we need to take a step back for a moment and really understand, why is this important? What's the science behind it? And how does this assist with cognitive thinking? So here's the reality. When most agencies or manufacturers think of data, you picture spreadsheets. You look at rows, you look at numbers, potentially tables, long lists of items to sort through that may not tell the most clear picture. Now, what I want you to do is compare that to what happens when you look at a dashboard. On the left-hand side, we have a spreadsheet. On the right-hand side, we have a dashboard that could be built off of that spreadsheet. And in just a few seconds, you can easily see what is happening. You can see where sales are trending, which territories are growing, and what products are underperforming. And that's the difference. It's not just convenience, it's speed. If we talk a little bit about facts or stats, research from MIT has shown that the human brain can recognize an image in as little as 13 milliseconds. And that's why data visualization is so powerful. It takes something overwhelming in potentially Excel or tables, and it turns it into something you can understand and act on almost instantly. And for rep agencies, that means we can walk into our manufacturer review with confidence, showing the impact in seconds instead of spending over 20 minutes, 30 minutes going through spreadsheets and pages. And for a manufacturer, it can mean faster decisions based on the facts that you already see. So let's dive a little bit deeper into that. I think we have a good idea of what data visualization is, turning complex numbers into pictures. But at the end of the day, it's really not just about speed. It's what happens after you see that data or you recognize it. And there's three key things that data visualization helps you accomplish. The first one's clarity. And a good visual cuts through the noise. Instead of drowning in thousands of rows in Excel, you see exactly what matters the most, the key trends and the outliers that need your attention. Second is retention. After clarity, people remember visuals far better than they remember numbers on a page. If you're a rep walking into a line review, you want your manufacturer to walk away remembering the charts that showed how you're growing in their market share, not just another spreadsheet about information they probably won't remember tomorrow. And finally, you have action. So after you have clarity, after you've retained that information better using visuals, action is a key part of data visualization. When data is clear and easy to understand, people often act on it quicker. This means providing value and influencing strategy. So the real power of data visualization is that it doesn't just make information easier to see, it makes it easier to remember and, more importantly, easier to use. So I have a little fun game here, and I'm gonna throw it over to John. John, can you tell me how many sevens are in this image here?
Hold on, give me a second here.
I'll give you 5.
5, 1.
All right, time's up. Someone asked you an important question.
We got to 7, so I'm guessing maybe 14.
Maybe 14. So
Yeah.
most of us are probably scanning this row by row, maybe even giving up because it's overwhelming. And that's the point. This is exactly what it feels like to live in potentially a spreadsheet or into data all day long. So if we actually flip, we can see that we have 17 different sevens here. We're going to look at the exact same number again. We'll highlight the sevens. And then instantly, what our brain can do is jump to what we need to get in the most relevant information quicker. But not only that, by leveraging data visualizations, we can do comparative analysis. And this is a very simple example. Here I can see that there's 17 sevens, but how do those sevens compare to my 3s or my 8s? Again, very simple analogy here, but you can instantly see how much information you can quickly gather by leveraging visualization compared just to looking at numbers or trying to write formulas or take educated guesses. So let's go ahead and talk about the art and science of this, right? What we just showed is why visuals work. But as we dive deeper, there is actually a science behind why some of this information fades away while other information sticks. The first part of this is iconic memory. This is our brain's ultra short term visual memory. We can process images in less than seconds, literally in a flash. And that's why a dashboard can help communicate instantly, why a spreadsheet takes minutes or hours to interpret. After iconic memory, there's short term memory. This is your limited memory, which I have a lot of short term memory, not so much long term after I've had kids. We can only hold out about 5 to 9 pieces of information at once. And that's why staring at rows of data quickly becomes overwhelming. Your brain can't hold on to it. But then there is long term memory. And to move information here, it has to be clear and consistent and meaningful. And visuals, especially ones with strong contrast, repetition, and simplicity, help unlock those insights you can recall that so you can recall them later. You wouldn't actually think that the colors that are used in bar charts and pie graphs would matter, but there is a lot of science that backs this. So the science is really understanding how memory works. And the art is designing visuals that fits that process. When you bring those two together, you get data that not only makes sense in the moment, but sticks with people long after that meeting. And I think that's part of the value that we've been able to provide is every organization that we've worked with in collaboration with Rep Fabric has some sort of unique report so that their leadership can get the data that matters to them, but the visuals that help make it stick. We're not just going out and giving the same report to every 10 different people. We change it and modify it for what's going to help their leadership recognize information that's key. So when we talk about the art of science and making it stick more, now that we've understood how the brain processes data, the next step is being to intentionally use it. Every dashboard, every report, every visual should answer three simple questions. The first question should be, who is the data for? Is it for your manufacturer? Who do you want, or who wants to see your territory growth and product performance? Is it for your internal team who needs to know where to focus their efforts? The audience determines what you want to highlight in your visuals. The second part of this is, what story are you trying to tell? Data without context is just noise. Are you showing your manufacturers how you've grown their market share? Are you showing your team where you're winning new opportunities? Decide the story first and then let your numbers support it. And then how are you delivering upon it? This is where format matters. A 20 tab spreadsheet might check the boxes, but it just won't stick. A clean visual, a chart, a scorecard, a trend line gets remembered and acted on. So let's actually dive into a live demonstration. After this live demo, I'll talk about the different types of data, but this is actually a report that we were able to create in under 25 hours. Our team built a tariff dashboard using data from the US Census Bureau and the US International Trade Commission. This dashboard that I'll showcase, let's go ahead and open it up, takes raw government level trade data and turns it into something clear and actionable. All of this information is being published by the US government daily or monthly or quarterly. They give you ways to access it and pull it live and in real time. But what do you do with that? Do you have someone in your office scan Excel sheets? Do they write formulas, VLOOKUPs? Or do you want a way that you can just see it instantly and monitor it to make decisions quicker? So for a rep agency, this is where imports drive so much cost. This means you can quickly see which countries and product categories are impacted by tariffs and how that affects your business. Instead of digging through this information, you'll get instant insights. And the two main sources that were used for this were the US Census foreign trade, and then the data products, and then the data web sources at the US ITC. So in this dashboard, you can see that the trade volume over time alongside the tariff rate. So here we have the trade volume in our copper color. In our white, you can see the rate over time. And over here, we can see that towards 2015, we went up to 6.11%. I wonder why. We can also see that we have some slicers up here at the top that will help us drill down. So one really important part of this is our HTS chapter. And our HTS chapter means Harmonized Tariff Schedule. Every product in the world falls into a chapter. This could mean machinery. It could mean plumbing parts. It could mean different tools that we're buying. And we can see that the chapters that we focused on for the illustration of this demo were machinery, electrical, optical, plastics. And here I could select one of these HTS chapters, and that will change my visuals. It will let me see them by country. If I scroll over, I can start to compare year over year that China increased 1% for specific machinery and mechanical. In 2015, it went up 6.5. So if a lot of my line cards are buying items or manufacturing inside of these countries, we're going to know pretty quickly that their rates are going to increase, and we can prepare for those before those rate increase happens. So John, I just want to pause for a second. I know I've been talking a lot. We talked about the art and science, what data is. We're showing an example here. Do you have any comments on this or how this could help impact an agency?
Sure. Yeah. So in this example, essentially what we're talking about is the floor for your costs for your manufacturers is going up, right? Because of tariffs. In some ways that can be good for you, because if you get a percentage of sale and they increase the price, you're going to naturally kind of get that lift as part of that process, which is a good thing. although you're probably going to be having a lot more meetings with your customers around absorbing, additional price increases and so on and so forth that may be tariff related. So it's an opportunity, I think, to talk with your manufacturers about how those tariffs are going to be handled and how you can best prepare your market. And I also think that from managing the rep business standpoint, it's worth considering those companies that are, companies that maybe don't produce everything offshore in a high tariff location, for example, in order to, as we all kind of fight how our line card fights in the market, and how, how we're perceived in the market as being the expensive manufacturer with good quality products, or the dirt cheap manufacturer with so-so quality. All those things kind of can help weigh into how you manage your own line card, as well as that relationship that you have with the manufacturers that you already have. And ultimately, I think, Tim, what I would love to see is how we could take it down by product category on the parts that get built and commissioned out, so that we could say, hey, we're expecting these sets of part numbers or product families within, that we sold through our agency into our market, look like they're going to be impacted by 6.4% tariffs instead of 1.3% tariffs, which ultimately leads to, an equivalent price increase or not, right? But either way, like, you be able to really drill it down to say, okay, these products, because they're made in this country, aren't going to have much in the way of price changes, whereas these other ones are going to have big ones. And then what does that do to us commercially overall? Are we still competitive in the market, or are we not? Right. So there's a lot of kind of, really, really front end thinking that's not always the day to day, put out the fire kind of mode that we're often in as reps. But I think when you start to kind of consider the business from a bigger perspective, it can be pretty interesting to figure out how you're asking your customers, or your manufacturers, I should say, what do we, where do we produce these things, right? And I know certainly in like the electronics world, countries of origin of products that are very much being tracked, but in a lot of other places, they're probably not, as that sort of master data that help you measure these impacts. So those are the kinds of deeper thinking items that when you go into, a line review with the manufacturer, and really want to talk about how you guys can grow your commissions together, right, and their sales, that co-mission, right, that allows you to have that much deeper conversation at a peer level for how you're going to tackle your market. So
Yeah, I think that was some very valuable thinking there when you talked about drilling into the actual products themselves as well. So you outlined a very good idea there, is taking data that is public, right? That is available to you, and looking at what you have internal and helping use that to paint a better picture. And we're actually going to take a look at an example of looking at your individual products and how they're performing and how that impact could be analyzed. I always have this key term that I like to say: if data exists, we can visualize it. And I think that's very important to understand, that a lot of these good ideas do start with you as the customer, helping us understand what would impact and grow your business further. And what we've done a really good job at is looking at that data and seeing if it's out there, if we can capture it, and then how we can compare that using data visualization, like you saw, to better run your business. And I think that's a great segue to talk about the different types of data that are out there. And we've broken it down into three key silos, which is free public. That's information that is out there that you can grab, like the tariff data that I just showed. You can pull it in. You can get economic indicators. You can even get stuff like housing starts and building permits that I'll show in a little bit. But then we have paid data, right? And sometimes this can be a little bit more expensive. This might be things like Zonda or Construct Connect, or information that another organization is reselling that could also help impact your business. And I think you have to analyze, is that cost worth the uplift? Is that analyzation going to help me drive my business further? But lastly, you also have internal data. And a lot of organizations don't take effect of all the data that they have internally. And by being able to take these three different silos and bring them together, you can then start to visualize it. And that's where Power BI, the tool that we just showed, really comes in. Instead of treating each of these sources as separate buckets, like free public US tariff data, paid data like Construct Connect or building information, internal like your CRM or Rep Fabric, you can pull them all together into a single connected view. That means you could overlay your internal CRM opportunities against paid market reports or compare distributor sales against public data like building permits. And suddenly, instead of piecing things together manually, you have one dashboard that tells a full story. And for a rep agency, this means stronger conversations with your manufacturer. You're not just showing them numbers, you're putting them into context for a broader market. And for a manufacturer, it means faster, more informed decisions backed by a complete picture rather than just a sliver of truth. It could mean looking at your supply chain, how your supply chain is working with distribution, and more. So, this is really how we move from siloed data to smarter connected insights that everybody can act on. And I think what makes BBB Techs different is that we don't just give you technology, we leverage measurable results. I talked about it a little bit earlier, but for all of our shared customers, even though they may have similar reports, they're all different. The way they look at data, the way they analyze it is different from one rep agency to another. And what we've shown by using our solutions is that our clients have saved over 1,000 hours of manual data entry and seen up to a % increase in boost in sales. A lot of companies can build dashboards, some can even automate reports. But really, where we stand out in partnership with Rep Fabric is helping connect the dots. As you've seen, John is a wealth of knowledge and helps us come up with ideas all the time. We can also take information that is public and pull that data in to create one clear view that is trusted and everybody can act on. So if you take a look, there's a lot of great trends. Currently, we have over 300 active users on our solution today, and you have a lot of great ways you can take advantage of this. And we do this as a true partnership. We work seamlessly with our customers and Rep Fabric to leverage that data and take it to the next level. So as we dive in, I want to go through another demo of some of the reports that we've created in conjunction with Rep Fabric CRM, public facing data, and as well as inventory data potentially. So when we talk about our solution, there's two ways that we work with customers. One, we can build reports and hand it over to them, but you lose a lot of functionality like having it update in real time. You might have to manually click refresh and they have to be maintained. A lot of our customers will actually have us host their reports and manage their data so that we can make updates. One thing is if you do want these reports to be live and living and you want us to hand over reports, you have to pay $10 a month to Microsoft to get everybody a Power BI license. Alternatively, you can pay us $5 a month for that user and we can build these reports and host them. But by paying us, you can actually have your users log in to assign an experience. This is something you wouldn't get necessarily internal. They can log in with their corporate email address. You can also provide people access to your reports that are outside of your organization, like potentially a manufacturer or another constituent. And they could log in and only see the reports that matter to them. Our reports do have role-based access. So if one organization logs into it, their sales team might see a different amount of reports than their leadership. And they might see the same report, but different data inside of them. So I'm going to go through a couple examples. We have a lot of great different ones that we've created on Rep Fabric data like sales and revenue, goals and performance, operations and project tracking, and customer and opportunity. But the first one I'm going to dive into is sales. And I'm actually going to jump back and forth with John here to talk more about how he's seen organizations take advantage of this too. So I'm going to pull open our sales dashboard. So just at a quick light, we're actually pulling this data from Rep Fabric holistically. And this just gives me a quick overview into how our company is performing in terms of sales. At the top, we have something called slicers here, and that lets us filter and change our data. So I could easily switch and look at my years if I wanted to do a comparison. Let's go ahead and jump into 2024 here, and I'll look at 2024 sales. You can see how everything's dynamic and it's all live and living. I can see where our customer regions are. I can analyze it by manufacturer. I could look at it by our sales team and how individuals are performing. If they're trending upwards, if they're trending downwards, what are their total sales versus the prior year, giving me some better insight into their overall performance. I can also see year over year and help me kind of predict, are we at the same point that we were last year? And are we trending on par? I could look at sales by manufacturer and see the ones that I'm maybe outperforming versus other ones. Like currently Charlotte Plastic here, we did about 4 million, but the prior year we did about 10. Now, again, we might only be halfway through the year. So it's important to use your slicers to select the months that you have and understand where you sit today. So, John, maybe I'll throw it back to you for a second. You want to talk about how this could be beneficial compared to the already great reports that you offer out of the box?
Sure, sure. I mean, I think it's as you pointed out, Tim, it's what you care about, right? And if you have a very regionalized business, for example, with its own reporting structure for folks that cover different territories, and those become kind of what you measure, because one thing I think we found is that over the years, every single rep agency has their favorite reports that they want to use, those pet reports that are the ones that senior management looks at every week and individual salespeople use for their day-to-day work and so on and so forth. And we've tried to build as many of those as we can, but when you're really looking for the custom ones that you don't have today, engaging you guys to go build that for them on a professional services engagement, and even hosting this kind of data for them so that it's a done for you type of engagement moving forward, I think it'd be really, really powerful to give you those reports that may be the ones that are those critical reports that you might not find in kind of the standard offering of Rep Fabric. So, I would say that's kind of where this comes in to be very beneficial. And like you said, Tim, you guys are great at being able to configure these things so that you're really delivering the baby in just a quick visual snapshot of exactly the trend that you as a manager of the business or as a salesperson find to be the most beneficial for the way you work.
I couldn't agree more. And I think another point to that too is our reports are mobile, optimized for mobile as well. So if you are in the go or you're looking to jump into a meeting with a potential customer, distributor, wholesaler, you can pull these up right while you're there and even track down to who that customer is and pull it up right on the flash, right? Mobile optimization, I think, is something that was relatively new for Microsoft Power BI and now Fabric. And being that we kind of stay ahead of the cutting edge of technology, a lot of our customers have been very happy with being able to pull this up on iPads and such. So I want to flip back to kind of our main dashboard. You will notice that this opens up in another tab, and that's a feature that we put in so you can have multiple reports open and switch between them. But another one just to take a quick look at is commissions. And I know a lot of time tracking commissionable sales and understanding how those commissions are trending is another great way to get insights into your business. This looks very similar to our sales dashboard, but is focused on commissions. You'll notice one thing is we actually do have a hover over tip here. So we make these very dynamic to get the information that's important instantly. And this can kind of show us forecasting in a way. Are we on the same track for commissions last year? Are we trending downwards? Are we trending upwards by a crazy amount? And how can we start to do predictive spending? We can change our commissions down here at the bottom and look at it by month versus year. Obviously, there's a lot of similarity here. So we do a lot, but over in November, we did 5.6 compared to 4.4. We can analyze them again by customer region, sales team, dive into commissions by customer. We can even use this to help us identify what we're paying out to our sales team member or what we're receiving versus their total sales. We also have other reports baked into our commissions one, where you can see commissions versus the prior year and even see top 15 commissions to give you kind of a better overview of where your top performers are as well. John, could you see this beneficial walking into a line card review or in conversations with a manufacturer in any light?
Obviously, yeah, for sure. I mean, it just proves that you know your business very well, right? And that's mostly what your manufacturers want to understand is what are you doing to look out for their business in your market? What are you doing to grow with it? And again, you've got that co-mission with them that I would say you probably don't run it on the commission report. You run it on the sales report because that's what they care about. The manufacturer cares about. However, overall, I mean, I think I've certainly had the come to mutual understanding moments with small lines that don't generate a lot of commission. At the same time, they're asking you for tons and tons of activity, tons and tons of reports, etc., where showing, kind of the commission dollars and reminding that regional sales manager, that VP of sales of that company, that they're not paying you enough commissions despite the efforts that you're putting into it. Those are very real conversations that we've had before where you might use a commission dashboard like this to kind of put it in scale for them of you're asking us for all this stuff, but you're not really paying us commissions that allows us to fund delivering it for you in the way we would want to. So there's a lot there. But the point is because you're armed with data and it's not anecdotal, well, we work really hard for you. You have a much deeper conversation and can come to a better business understanding for both you and your manufacturer's mutual benefit. So.
Agreed. And I think let's flip over really quickly and take a look at our best-selling products. You had mentioned earlier when we were looking at our tariffs dashboard, being able to compare that against what we're actually selling and potential products that could have impact. So here's another example of a report that we've created for best-selling products, which allow us to see our manufacturer by the product, our part number. We can even hover over and see sales by month for that particular part. Remember, we always have our slicers at the top. This could allow us to drill deeper into how we're selling, what products we should keep. It could even give us some insights to what we should stack on our inventory, and what products we should really be pushing to our potential customers or maybe bidding on jobs because of how well they're performing and what customer or products people like. It can also give us better talking points or conversations when going into a meeting with a distributor or a wholesaler or potentially bidding on a job.
Yeah, so I would add on these that, this is kind of a great combination of knowing, not everybody has a part number driven business. And I really didn't in terms of the information I would collect in my agency for the longest time. And then all of a sudden we started collecting part number and product family information. And that really changed the face of our agency. Why is that? Because when we walk into a distributor or an OEM and say, hey, you used to buy 80 grand worth of this part, we're 3/4 of the way through the year, it's September, but you've only bought, 10 grand all year, something's off. What happened? Did you outsource that production somewhere? Did you switch us out for another competitive manufacturer for the same part? That kind of thing really matters. So that's kind of one of the business purposes of tracking things at the part numbers. And then I'll add two more elements to that. One is that not only do you want to examine the holes of parts that are kind of going away, but you also want to examine, what are my winners? What are the parts that we always win? Those are generally competitive in your market to some degree, better than any other products you have on your line card. So let's ride that horse the whole way, right? Make sure everybody knows that these are great parts, and let's see if we can continue to drive the winners, right? And that's, that can drive marketing plans and so on and so forth. Last but not least, the idea of units sold, or in many cases weight, because pricing changes a lot. Sales, of course, isn't really necessarily comparisons of the baseline pricing for things. So things like units sold and weight really matter. Hey, we typically move this much PVC or this much copper every year, and that may come with tariff impacts and premiums and so on and so forth. And so being able to track it at the unit level and the footage level, for example, also is a good measure of whether you're actually growing the business or you're just riding the upside of a price increase, for example. So this data becomes very important in understanding who your winners and losers are from the products that you are trying to sell into the market, and allows you to then adjust where you're putting your efforts so that you're not pushing losers all the time and start pushing those winners, if that makes sense. So.
Yeah, great explanation. And definitely kind of showcases the power of being able to have thought around the data that you have and even spark some ideas that you may not know to think about because you didn't have this type of information at your fingertips or you weren't able to analyze it. So I'm going to flip back to our homepage here. I have a couple more examples I want to show before we flip back and wrap up for the sake of time. But really quickly, another great dashboard is our building permits one here. And this one is taking that public data from the US Census. On a monthly pull, we're grabbing building permit data for MSA as well as single family, and we're comparing it against sales. So here you can tell really quickly our white line is that building permit data, sales is that yellow or copper or orange line. I can tell really quickly that there's a lot of activity here happening in August, but our sales may not be correlating directly to activity. I can also compare it against county or territory. I can see that in Orlando, we have a lot of activity happening, 96,000 new building permits issued, but our sales are only 6 million. And that could help me flip over and say, well, our sales correlating in Miami are doing really well, but building's not nearly as high. So it allows me to identify opportunity. And with our heat map over here, you can even see what areas are starting to trend based on color indicators. And you can flip through your building permit types here at the top. I could switch just to look at multifamily or single family, giving me better insights into our market, and as well as kind of what's trending and what's starting to pick up.
Right. So, and I think here is really can I measure the leading indicator? And what that ultimately, as you hunt through the data with analyses like these, you'll find that there eventually is a correlation that those early building permits may turn into sales 9 months down the road or a year down the road or some other thing where that trend finally has its impact. And the longer you measure this kind of information, the more a correlation starts to form so that you can really tell, not just from what you're seeing, from what you're getting in your sales and commission statements for how you did, but you're actually seeing like the macroeconomic, whether you're getting a lift from that or not. And so that's why this can be very, very powerful with a lot of that external data. I'd love to have this for OEMs as well, like a master list of all the projects the OEMs are working on. I think everybody who sells into OEMs every day would die for that information. But one thing that may be interesting as a correlation could be, for example, our folks in PTRA for agricultural, big ag permits that are being pulled on farms, for example, and what do those look like? And then what does that drive that becomes products that get purchased on your line card, right? So there could be even things like that to discover in the data itself. And actually kind of give you a heads up of like, they pulled the permit, it's these people, it's these engineering firms, it's these architects, go get your stuff spec'd in, or it's this OEM who's working on it, this contractor, and use that information now to go make sure that you're the part that's getting bought, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think one thing to call out here is we are the data experts. We are the visualization experts. Everything starts with a good idea. But what we've done well is if you come to us and you have an idea, like you mentioned with PTRA there, John, we'll go out and we'll find if that data is available, right? And what category does it fit into? Is it free? Is it public? Is it paid? How much does that cost? And we'll present that to you as part of our discovery and say, this is what it's going to take to build this. This is where that data can come from. But being that you know your industry the best, we will help you kind of go through that journey and get that information and take it to the next level and build reports around it. A couple more like last minute ones that I'm going to hit just off the heels of building permits. We have activity journals. So this can be a really good way to see what activity your sales team is doing. Obviously, you would need to be capturing this data. You need to import it into your CRM, that beautiful tool that you're paying for that John has spent countless time developing with his team to make it more impactful for your organization. But as your sales team enters this info, you could easily dive into the different types of activity that you're doing by manufacturer and see how your sales team is performing and what they're doing. You can look at it by activity type and make sure that you're doing the proper trainings with your customer and prevent that back to your manufacturer or going into a line card review. I can see here Ricardo is absolutely killing it, 594 sales. Maybe we take a look at Ricardo's doing and why he's doing it so well and how he manages his time and replicate that throughout the industry. To go back to our building permit example, we had taken a look at our building permits trending by county, but what are our actual activities by county, right? If I see that Orlando had 50 or 90,000 new building permits, are we calling in Orlando? Do we have activity there? Are we performing? Or do we need to start focusing on that and measure that actionable insight? Or ask thoughtful questions like, why did we have 373 activities in Broward, but Miami-Dade we had less, but almost an extra $1 million in sales? Or Palm Beach, what are we doing so well there? How are we measuring that? And then I can even dive into monthly activity and look at by type, plumber, distributor, builder, showroom, and where those activities are trending and how they compare to the overall picture of our company. So I'm going to jump to one last report really quickly, and I'm going to show customer activity. This is one of the newer ones that we developed, again, started from an idea. But as you're walking into meetings with your customers, if you wanted to get just a quick snapshot of who they are and what they've done and what they're buying, you could easily jump in and choose your customer here. Let's choose consolidated supply. And I could see the parent company, what their address is, their phone number, when they first purchased, so how long they've been a customer, or total sales with that individual, activities with them and what they're buying, the team's name. So again, this is all pulling from Rep Fabric, the sales by month, and I can even press open in Rep Fabric here, having that two-way integration, allowing me to jump right back into the tool. So there's a lot of great reports. I wish I had the time to show you today. Would love to sit down and help you understand more of what we built, especially looking at potential items that you're selling on a customer's map and what those items are by territory or by county, how those are trending versus architects or builders or customers, and then being able to even drill down again into those particular areas and get this great heat map or even comparing items on an item map and what those item categories are by location. So John, before I jump out of this demo, is there anything else you want me to jump in? Anything you want to talk to about any of these reports we have up here?
No, I think we got it well covered. So thank you, Tim. Yeah.
Great. So as we start to wrap up, I think we're just going to talk about a couple more things in terms of workflow automation. So a lot of the biggest points that we have seen with agencies and manufacturers is time lost on these repetitive tasks. Things like pulling reports from multiple systems, formatting them, and that's where this automation comes in. Not only are we Power BI or Power Platform experts, we do work with tools like Power Automate, Power Apps to construct this workflow to make it easier to grab that data and to get these insights. And this could even mean thinking outside the box for a rep agency, maybe automatically generating a line card review packet for a principal at a certain time of the month based on that report, which we can do. Consolidating your distributor reports into one single scorecard or scheduling reoccurring updates. For a manufacturer, it could mean getting real-time visibility into sales without waiting for monthly reports, understanding alerts when performance dips and getting that real-time notification, or even automating commissions tracking across multiple reps. And I like to say the proof is in the pudding, but just some quick testimonials from our customers. John Wiggs, who last year I believe was the president of AMAR, had quoted us and said that BBB Tex has done a tremendous job of harnessing the power of data and transforming it into actionable insights and allowing them to make decisions quicker. Michael Hobbs at Car Company has testimated, I don't even know if that's a real word, but has said that Power BI has enabled us to have a competitive advantage in the marketplace. And then Joe Mento at Mega Western has said we've gone from sorting through endless amounts of Excel data to easily see the same data in a concise and intuitive format. And like I had mentioned, a lot of those different data sources that we have talked about, if you are getting manual Excel reports outside of your CRM that you want to capture, there is ways that we can have workflow automation behind it where you upload them to a folder and it automatically updates a report. So as I wrap up here, and before I throw it back to John to take us to close and questions, for reps, it's really about proving your value to your manufacturers faster and more clearly. And for manufacturers, it's about getting trusted insights from the fields that make you smarter and have quicker decisions. And the proof is right here within the partnership between BBB Tex and Rep Fabric, resonating so strongly across the industry. So I'm going to leave our contact information up there. I'm going to throw it to John to take us to close and potentially questions.
Yeah, I think we've got a couple questions, so we'll dig into that right now. Number one is, am I correct? Is a similar analytics dashboard that's being updated in Rep Fabric right now? So this is the augmented version and highly customizable version of that is a professional and services engagement with Tim and BBB Tex. So this is when you want to go your own way, but you don't need to learn Power BI, but you want to add all kinds of extra data into the systems, etc. This is what this really helps with, and again, to get that broader market view as part of that. As you know, we have our own business analytics package in here in the Rep Fabric system that is being continuously upgraded into a 2.0 version of that as we speak, which we expect out in November. That's kind of where that's at. But again, it's really going to be centralized mostly around the data that you've got already inside of Rep Fabric. So, so that was one of the questions. The other is the Power BI included in our Rep Fabric subscription, and how do we access it? So Rep Fabric has Power BI APIs that allow you to run the templates in kind of like, imagine Excel, where we're essentially filling up the Excel through the output of our APIs in Rep Fabric, and those come free of charge with Rep Fabric. So getting the data out of Rep Fabric, there are no charges with. Tim, maybe you want to cover how you guys manage if you were to host Power BI for people as part of your development and then ongoing hosting process. Maybe you can cover some of those, how you guys do that.
Yeah, and I think just off the heels of that, like Rep Fabric provides a way to get that data, like you just mentioned, John. But Power BI is the vehicle or the tool. Think about it like a hammer outside of the Rep Fabric universe that allows you to suck it in and put it into those visuals like I had presented. But obviously, there's a lot more theory behind it, a lot more calculations. Power BI is actually almost like a post version of Excel, but with a lot more functionality. And when it comes to what makes it unique and what we've done with Power BI is that if you want to have living reports, meaning that your reports update, they're live and they're in real time, and people can log in and have different views on the data that they should have access to, you need to put it into a solution that is hosted in the cloud. And for your internal organization, you would need to pay $10 per month per user to Microsoft to get access to those live and livable reports. You'd also need to customize them yourself and build it. And that's just going to be a cost in itself. If you have 20 outside sales teams and 10 leadership, that's $300 a month for just living in live reports across your environment. What we do is we can actually host those reports for you on a server called Microsoft Fabric, a part of the Microsoft realm. And we reduce that cost from $10 per person per month to $5 per person per month. You also get maintenance that's included with it. We are able to monitor your reports. We're able to easily jump in and create updates. That mobile optimization that we had talked about, and another more plethora of gamut besides just cost savings. That kind of answered that, John, or did I go off a bunny
I
trail
think
there?
so. Yeah,
Okay.
no, I got it. Yeah, thanks. Okay, well, I think that's it. I think I want to thank everybody for attending our webinar today, and certainly reach out and use the contact information that you see here. If you got some projects, even if you just want to talk through some ideas, feel free to reach out. Tim and his team, they're great. They always deliver on time and on budget, and we're excited to have them as a great partner. And certainly, if you've got feedback for us from the Rep Fabric side as well, please feel free to share that as well. I have Scott's contact in here, so he can receive those calls from you, and happy to do so. Also, do stay tuned. As I said, we've got a lot of our AI activity journals out now, a lot of the order intakes, the auto quotes for quick quotes using AI for kind of that getting data into the system side. And then we're in the process of upgrading a whole bunch of the standard reports as well to be AI enabled, meaning that you can ask it questions and it'll start to generate some of that data too. So that's kind of where we're at. Thanks, everybody. Tim, any parting words? Yeah.
Nope, we do free discovery, so don't hesitate to reach out to us. There will be no cost if you want to just talk through some stuff like you mentioned, John. But
Great.
it was great to have everybody here today. We appreciate. I think we had one more question, John, based off of what you said. Is the AI note taking feature live?
It is live, yes. So if you go into Activity Journal on the mobile, you'll see an item there that says AI, enter with AI, and what you can do is dictate in open form, say, my manufacturer's name, recap, and then talk about what you did on the AJ, and our AI will parse that apart per manufacturer basis. So that's great for if you're in the car and driving and you just want to click on CarPlay and record an open session AJ and talk about what you did in the last sales call. That's going to continue to evolve. I think next week or the week after, that's going to generate tasks that sync all the way out to Outlook tasks for you and Gmail tasks for you. And from there, it will actually evolve into a full AI note taker that you can light up for meetings and have it be aware of all your different manufacturers and products and so on and so forth. So that's a big area of push for us. And eventually what that's also going to do is update the CRM for things like opportunities and important projects for you automatically. Hey, we talked about this quote. They said that they didn't get it. Okay, so have the system just realize that and go close the quote. So that's where we're heading here into late 2025 and early 26. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you,
Yep.
John.
Yep, sounds good. Bye-bye.